I'm Brian, and that's Jeremy, and every week on PSVR,
This week,
we take a look at the new VR games that are coming to the PlayStation Store this week.
we gather up all the videos we could find, all the descriptions we can plagiarize, and we condense them down into the short video for you.
Sometimes we look at delayed games, updates, DLC, or new game announcements.
So without further ado, here's PSVR This Week.
So turn it up. Turn it up.
It's week 2 of the annual holiday lull on the PlayStation Store, so even though we won't be seeing any new game releases for at least another week when the store gets back up and running, there's still plenty of sales going on well into the new year. So here's 10 more hugely discounted games that you shouldn't miss. Sparc might have been our very first virtual sport, and although we obsessed over it at launch, tons of new games have come out and pushed it out of our collective minds. But it's time we jump back onto the Sparc bandwagon. Not only is it only $10 here in the States, but Without Parole is ramping up for a Sparc tournament very soon. So make sure if you're interested you join our Discord by clicking the link in the description. Batman Arkham VR was a strange launch title. It's really short, with a story that clocks in at less than 90 minutes total, but the story, and ending especially, are absolutely unforgettable. The launch price of $20 might be a little tough to swallow a full 3 years after launch, but getting to experience this for just $6 is a no-brainer. Battlezone isn't exactly a game I recommend to people looking for a good single-player experience. Don't get me wrong, it's fine, but Battlezone comes alive in 4-player co-op, with campaigns that can take hours to complete on some of the harder difficulties. It requires teamwork and good communication, and honestly, next to Firewall Zero Hour, might be one of the best co-op games on the platform. I joke a lot about Headmaster being one of my favorite PlayStation VR games, but it really is so good, and if you think that it's just a game about heading soccer balls into a net, think again. Headmaster has a dark sense of humor, great graphics and voiceovers, and unbelievably, one of my favorite storylines in recent memory. If you like weird games, give Headmaster a shot. Killing for Incursion is one of the best looking games on PlayStation VR, and Killing Zeds here is infinitely more refined than Arizona Sunshine. It is a solid campaign with tons of melee weapons and an assortment of guns, not to mention the ability to play the entire game in online co-op with a buddy. The first stage is by far my favorite, but the entire game is a blast.
Bollocks. Now things are getting serious.
This wouldn't be one of my list without the inclusion of a horror game. In Paranormal Activity, The Lost Soul is actually really scary, from subtle scares like banging doors to some really intense moments that'll have you cowering in fear. The controls are a little strange, and I always thought that for such a short game, The Lost Soul was horrendously overpriced. But for $10, you can't go wrong. For what essentially amounts to a wave shooter, Raw Data is packed to the brim with variety. There's a great story that's delivered with a humorous slant, a variety of characters to play as, featuring weapons that range from handguns and bows and arrows to swords, not to mention some awesome tower defense abilities that'll help you in the heat of battle.
The action gets raw.
Tetsuya Mizuguchi brought Rez to Dreamcast and PlayStation 2 almost 20 years ago, but Rez Infinite proves that PlayStation VR is where it always belonged. The crisp visuals along with the pulsating music and Panzer Dragoon-like rail shooting gameplay combines into one unforgettable experience. And when you add the freedom of Area X into the mix, you've got a classic PSVR game that's really pretty amazing.
What the prize may be, they've all come here to win.
Sprint Vector is the other game on this list that'll have you unexpectedly sweating all over your game room floor in literally minutes. 8 players race each other to the finish line through Mario Kart-inspired tracks with Mario Kart-inspired weapons, all with graphics that feel like they were ripped straight out of Jet Set Radio.
From downtown.
You're blowing it.
There's something really special about the assembly. It tells a great story with fantastic voiceovers, puzzles, and some surprisingly detailed environments, but ultimately, it just feels like far more than the sum of its parts. If you decide to pick this one up, skip the move controllers and go straight for the full locomotion that the DualShock 4 offers for a much more immersive experience. Thank you guys so much for tuning into another episode of PSVR
This week. We'll be back next week to keep you up to date on all the VR games coming to the PlayStation Store.
But keep in mind that no one outside of Sony really knows what games are coming when.
But we'll do our best to keep you up to date each and every week on PSVR This Week.